Page 142, Amazing Grace. I know I've covered this before in another book. I have no idea what I said, so it'll be interesting to see what I say this time. At the top of page 142, they're talking about triplet eighth notes. A triplet is simply you're playing 3 notes in the same amount of time you'd normally play 2 notes. Therefore, you got to play them a little quicker. The hard part is getting them even. You know, I was getting a kick out of we had a pops band rehearsal yesterday, and in that there were some triplet notes. And I was listening to the different sections play them. None of them played them even. Well, for some reason, wind players don't get a lot of triplets. Piano players get them all the time, so we work on them and we learn to get them even. When I count them, instead of a 1 and 2 and, I go a 1 and 2 and. That way I can get 3 of them in there. So if I have 1, 2, 1, this is a 3/4, so I'll go 3. 1, 2, 3. Then eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and. Triplets is 1 and 2 and 3 and. People will have a tendency to either play the first one longer and the other one. That's not a triplet. Or they'll play some other. They won't be even, is my point. They gotta be even or they're not triplets. So that's your challenge there. Play them even. They say on counting, and there's different ways of counting music, they say you can use the word triplet, 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 and that's fine. Triplet, triplet, triplet. You tend to lose sight of which beat you're on, but that's okay. They're also suggesting 1 and then, 1 and then, 1 and then, 1. I tend to start spitting when I do that. It gets messy. So I just go a 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and etc. You use whatever method fits for you. A little bit about the right hand going on here. Just do what they're telling you to do. Use the fingering they're telling you to use. It's fine. Your hand's going to move around a little bit. That's fine. You're way beyond the point where you're going to stay in a nice, neat 5-finger position. You can forget that. No, it's not going to happen very often anymore. I do want to point out at the top of page 143, look at the last 3 measures. There in the right hand, you're starting here with a G, E, and then a triplet, and then it's 1, 3. We want to connect the melody. That's what we're after, and that's why we're doing that. And then you can come down. This is not melody. That's just like an afterthought type accompaniment thing. Now in the second line on page 143 and the third line and the last line, you have the arpeggiated chord. You see it in the second measure there. It's a D sharp, E, G. Okay, they're played quickly, 1 note at a time. You roll it. You just roll your hands. Talk about shifting your weight. This is a classic example of it. Okay. The only thing here I want to point out is that I play the bottom note of the roll, in this case the D sharp, on the beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, and I will play each of these on the beat. Some people will play it where the top note's on the beat. I disagree with that, but that's their interpretation, so can't say it's wrong. I just disagree with that interpretation. It's not how I was taught. Now at the bottom of the page, 143, the last line, the last few measures have repeat signs. Before and after, there's a reverse repeat sign and a repeat sign, so we're going to play these. And it's the note above the staff says second time you play the right hand an octave lower than written. Typically you go up. They want you to go down. It's written here, right? Second time they want you to come down here. Well, your left hand is down here, so the left hand is low enough to stay out of the way, so you can get away with it. So yeah, just go ahead and come down here. Now, you want to bring out the melody, and you have to figure out where that is. In most cases, in the right hand, it's going to be the top note. In most cases, so you're going to bring out the top note, but not always. When I get over to page 143, second line, the melody is in the right hand, but when I have a chord or more than one note, it's the bottom note. That's the melody. For a little bit, not very long, but a little bit. So in the second line, I'm going to start out here. But I want to bring out the C, the half note C, not the E. And I'm going to bring out the D sharp. In the next measure, the half note E, G, it's the E. That's the note I want to hear. Then finally, finishing it off, now it's the top note. In the last measure of the second line. So you have to figure out which note is melody. That's what you want to hear. And the last line on those repeated measures, what's the melody? Well, it's a C, and then it's an E, and for the end there, it's a C. That's what we want to hear. Bring that note out, if you can. In the left hand, it's pretty straightforward. You just 1, 2, rest, 1, 2, rest, rest type thing. Just follow what they're doing. On page 142, second line, last measure. Watch the fingering. You're starting here, and come down. 1, 2, 4. Good fingering. I like that. You get the same fingering at the end on page 143 at the bottom. The last couple measures there. A couple tricky little spots here, rhythm-wise. It happens twice. The first time is on page 142, the last measure. In the right hand, you have a dotted quarter note, followed by an eighth note, and then a triplet. So be careful there. Those last four notes are not all even. Nuh-uh. So you got to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and so be careful. It happens again on page 143, fourth line down, last measure. Same notes and everything. Just watch that rhythm there. Now as far as the pedal goes, they're showing overlap pedaling pretty much throughout, and I completely disagree with that. So if I play this first line on page 142, the way they're showing it pedaled, it's going to be this way. I don't care for that. Pedal it that way if you want. But I prefer to lift the pedal up on the third beat for those triplets. So the triplets are by themselves. There's nothing else going on. It's this way. So slightly different style. It's just, I prefer that. And that's the way I'm going to pedal it, and the way I suggest you experiment with at least. Just see what you think of it. Throughout this whole thing. I don't want to go through it all and say here, here, change it here, blah, blah, blah. Over on page 143, they actually do change it where they lift the pedal up for the triplets on a few spots. I'm suggesting do it all the time. On page 142 at the end of the first line, between the stabs, there is a word there, a simile. Okay? It's not simile, it's simile. And that simply means keep going the way you've been going, in a similar fashion. Since it's written between the stabs, it tells me it must apply to whatever instructions were between the staves. And that would be at the beginning, you have a piano, legato with feeling. So to me, it's like I'm just going to keep doing that. Piano, legato with feeling, the whole thing. They may be assuming, I don't know what they're assuming. That's the way I would, because otherwise, simile, the word can be most anywhere. A lot of times they'll put it down at the bottom for the pedaling. But here they're showing you the pedaling. But in this case, yeah, that's how I would interpret it. Now, there is a note at the bottom of page 142 saying that in this case, it continued to play the triplets each time in the matter. Now, I don't understand why there's a simile for that, because they're written as triplets, almost. So you don't need the word simile to tell you to keep playing them as triplets. They're written as triplets, you're going to do it anyway. Now, ideally, they would have a little slur or a little slur mark and a 3 written over them. Similar to the example at the very top, they have a 3 above the 3 triplets. Typically, you'd also get a slur mark over them, showing these notes are group of 3. Play them as triplets. They're not doing that in this piece. They don't have the little 3 above them. So people might think, well, do I interpret these as regular eighth notes? However, if you do that, then the counting's all off. Then you got too many beats in a measure. It's not legal. You can only have 3 beats in a measure. You can't have 3.5. So you can't go 1, 2, 3, and 3 and or something. You have to play them as triplets, is my point. It's a good thing they put in the note, because I would misinterpret their simile of what they were intending. Anyway, let's go ahead and try this. Let's see what happened. At the beginning, the piano, the dynamic, that applies to the melody. So this left hand business, you got to keep really, 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 really soft. All right, just keep it under the melody as best you can. I'm going to give us 2 counts. We'll play it together, because there is a pickup beat there on 2 eighth notes. So it's like 1 and 2 and play. It's a ready and go and type thing. So you're starting out right hand here, left hand, foot's on the pedal. Here we go. Ready and go and. Repeat.